Well, hello there, folks. Dave Lytle and Unseen Steve off to the side here. We're here to let you know about a wonderful trip we just recently took down into the sunny south of Florida. My wife was having a birthday, so we decided to take the family down to the Miami homestead area, drove through the glades, took the kids to see the Coral Castle, took them to South Beach, let them put their feet in the Atlantic for the first time. It was a nice little outing, but it was extra grand for me because while we were in Miami, as I promised in my last video on the Kawa Genesis, I said I was going to make a visit to the Leica store. So we went to Leica Land. So while we sent the kids to a street parade of sorts, Steve and we bundled up some of our goodies and went into the Leica store to see what was really what. If you do watch that video on the Koa Genesis, I kind of came to a realization that the Steiner Shadow Quest was better than I thought it was initially. It was a lot of money for me when I bought it. That was one of my first serious purchases. And I may have been a little too hypercritical. Now, the things that I noticed about it, they're still there. Nothing's changed. But as far as the focus being soft, I'm putting that down to just a little bit of a washed out effect from so much light coming into the system. Because we learned something going to Leica Land, and it was quite significant. I was really, again, starting to think maybe I should get an alpha binocular, just one. And I kind of was siding with Leica because Swarovskis, they tended to be just a tad brighter, but not enough to really matter. And I really like the color of the Leicas. So we went and got a fine gentleman in that store, Adam. He came outside. He didn't require identification or a credit card or anything. He just let us go outside the store, which was kind of like a museum, actually. It was pretty posh. It was extended pinky time. But he gave us a Noctivid in 8x42, an Ultravid in 10x42, and a Geovid in 10x32. And we proceeded to go out and check those out outside. And right up front, I'm coming down with this conclusion. I do like them. I liked all of them. But the difference between Leica and what I was seeing with Swarovski, it's not big enough to even matter about. To me. To you, maybe. To me, the sharpness was amazing. Control of color was amazing, except maybe on the far edges you could see a bit of color. Basically, what I really go for is sharpness. I just really want the detail. And the detail is there, and it's beautiful. But when it came time to start pulling out what I presently had, which was the Steiner, I did compare it. The bottom line is I couldn't make out any difference. None. I mean, absolutely. Honestly, I've reached my limit. Maybe you can see a difference. I can't do it. The one thing that the Noctivid definitely had over the Steiner was a lack of color aberration in the center. It was, as far as I could tell, in beautiful, bright Florida sunlight, it was absent in the center. The Steiner, yeah, it's there. What do you expect? But aside from that, what the Steiner had over it was amazing depth of field and incredible 3D focus, sense of 3D that the Noctivid couldn't begin to give me. And as far as the sharpness, I could not tell the difference. And it, I really think that maybe it's due to the amount of light coming in. I don't know the mechanics that would make that possible, but it really has crossed over that threshold, in my opinion, into the alpha class. Uh, yeah, it. I basically already have my alpha binocular. It doesn't have the convenience of central focus. Now, I'm going to tell you, I absolutely love the Noctivid. I really. Some people say it doesn't fit their hands too well. The barrels are too close. I didn't notice that. I guess I'm not hung up on the little things so much as other people. It felt great. I love the lockable diopter. I like the way the whole thing worked. The the focus knob. Okay, heresy time. It was not as smooth. Get this. It's not as smooth as the focus knob that was on that Nature DX that I reviewed. But I'm not going to hold it against it because it was basically a demo model. Who knows what it's gone through as far as people playing around with it. Anyway, Steiner. I don't care about anything else Steiner's ever made. I've not gone around and tested everything they've ever made. I hear lots of bad mouthing, and for all I know, it's all true. This thing, when I can put it up against a Leica Ultravid or Noctivid, and I can't tell the frickin' difference between them other than I've got a wider field of view and greater depth of field and wonderful deep 3D view. Yeah, that was a revelation. I'm getting a lot of those recently. I'm passing them on to you, but you know what? I kind of knew that was going to be the case. I had the sense of that. Next came 10 power, did a 10 power test. I did that with my newly acquired Fujinon FMTSX. We had just looked at the stars the night previous. We were in Okeechobee City, and the sky wasn't perfectly black, but it was a lot darker than around home, and we were able to catch a lot, including a little portion of the Milky Way. That was nice, and I enjoyed what I was seeing through it. But when we put it up against the Leicas, here's what we found. It was pretty much neck and neck with the Ultravid, which was the 10 by 42. The difference between them is that the Ultravid gave me a completely and utterly relaxed view, and the Fujinon doesn't. There's some sense of strain there. There's no double vision. As far as I can tell, it's collimated, but who knows? But this is my second strike with Fujinon for different reasons. I did appreciate the view in general, but when I picked up that GeoVid 10 by 32, it was sharper. Little GeoVid, and that was a floor model too. So the bottom line, I'm not going to do a big review on this thing other than to say it was a bit more in line with what I expected. It had a flatter field with less field curvature than the 7 by 50 that I tested. But all in all, I was not too pleased with it. And the reason is that I also went out and tested this. My old BPOs, Russian, 10 by 42. And it gave me a perfectly relaxed view. Yeah, it is yellow and greenish hued, but it was actually sharper than the Fujinon. When we did the BPO addendum, and we tested it ultimately looking through a Swarovski NL Pure. What I noticed, and I even mentioned in the video, without really making the connection myself, is that, well, I was flabbergasted by the beautiful color of the Swarovski. But what I did mention and didn't follow through in my own mind was, as far as the detail that was in that wood grain of that little button on that mannequin, I couldn't see any improvement with the NL Pure. I thought, okay, well, maybe I've just simply reached a limit, but you know what? Now I'm convinced. And I've heard bad things. I've heard that sometimes you can get some of these that aren't quite up to snuff. I'm hearing that from a Russian contributor to the channel. But I got lucky, I guess, because that sucker over there, it's alpha quality. And you know what else the Noctivid couldn't really outshine? This thing. My son brought it. I just gave it to him for his birthday, but I gave it to him because it was unusually good in its color. It's a stellar. It's a little stellar 7x50, Japanese, I don't know, 60s, 70s, I don't know when the thing was made. But I couldn't make out any difference. It's a power down, but I mean, it had the same quality of sharpness, and I guess just because of the lens layout, there's no real color. I couldn't really make out any color. That's like $40, guys. You know what's almost as good? This little thing. I'm just throwing this in for fun. This is a little Tor Luminax, found it at a flea market, absolutely packed with fungus. I still looked through it at a brick wall, and it was amazingly sharp. And I'm thinking, you know what? I wonder what this would be like without all the fungus in it. My son, my middle child, bought it for me for Christmas. $12. And this thing is as sharp as the Kowa Genesis 44 Prominar. $12. Got this thing for about $116. This has been my go-to when comparing 7x35s. This is a 7x35 Asahi Pentax Marine, waterproof. Has a narrow field, 7.5 degrees, but I've heard others say that it had Swarovski quality, and I'm going with that because having had my experience now between different stores looking at Swarovskis and Leicas, I can't tell the difference. It's crossed over. It's gone over that threshold. It's at that plateau. Not going to argue about which is actually better because you know what? I'm not able to. The differences are so slight. It just comes down to what features that you'd want. I promised that I would let you know how the trip to Leica Land would go. And yeah, I'm humbled, and I recognize that I was mistaken in my original assessment of that Steiner. I thought that, well, one possibility was I was expecting too much from it, and I think I was. And the thing is, I would have been expecting too much from a Swarovski. I was off base. The thing is amazing, and if you can snag them, if you can still find them, might be a good purchase for you, as well as any of these that I've found. That's it, unless Steve wants to throw in. Steve, you got some comments?
He's disturbing us.
He jumps up on this table and knocks binoculars off.
It's cute. Perfect
It's
for
not-
the takeout.
not
good when you have
cute.
to recollimate everything. I love you, cat. I really do.
Leave him locked in a room.